It's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumen by a...
Boyle Sports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
Hello and welcome back to episode number 18, I think, Mr. Groome, of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. And 6 days to go. We've 3 more episodes, including this one, to go. And just a couple more picks now at this stage. Getting very, very exciting indeed. Good to see you. You're looking sharp. And you have, of course, 2 selections for us this week.
2 selections this week, so I'm catching up back with you now. So I've gone for a solid handicap option, and I've gone for a bit of a swing in one of the later handicaps in the week. So I think I need to take a couple of swings here later on to give myself some sort of chance of overhauling you. So we'll see.
Absolutely. And we were kind of debating, Q&As, and please do get your questions in, because we're going to be talking, I suppose, answering all your questions on Sunday. But we're going to switch it up, Mr. Groome. I'm going to ask you 10 questions today. So it's all about the Golden Groom, and you're going to ask me 10 on Sunday. We're going to put in our selections as usual, and we're going to put up a banker treble each and a lucky 15, and each way lucky 15 for the wonderful loyal listeners. And of course, for everyone, Mr. Groome, who hasn't updated our portfolio, it's really important now, because Judgment Day is Monday afternoon on the eve of the Cheltenham Festival. So if you haven't put up your, if you haven't updated your portfolio, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, now's the time to do so. That, of course, hamper to the value of €500 will be given away on the eve of the Cheltenham Festival. So, Mr. Groome, it's important that they all update and continue to like the videos and subscribe.
Yeah, like if you've come with us this far, fair play to you, but it'd be a terrible shame if you didn't finish off your portfolio and didn't qualify for the hamper, which is an excellent price. Remind me what that is again, Basil?
Yeah, it is a hamper to the value of €500 on the eve of the Cheltenham Festival. So all details on Monday afternoon. Just our portfolios today. We're not going to go through it one by one. We did that on the last episode. So if you haven't checked that out, please do so. But that's our selections today. Mr. Groome, he is playing catch up. So he's putting 2 selections in today. But let's, without further ado, Mr. Groome, let's kick on. The next section of the show is the big question. And all 10 big questions. Are you going your direction this time?
Boyle Sports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boyle Sports, this is betting.
So the big question is 10 questions, and it's all about the Golden Groom. They're up on screen. We're going to rattle down through them. What is your earliest memory of Cheltenham, Mr. Groome? Take it away.
Earliest memory now, very early, would have been coming home from school, and my nana would have been minding us at that point, and she was watching the Gold Cup, and there was 2 Irish horses in the Gold Cup, and Florida Pearl was one of them, and that's very early now. I wouldn't have realised what's going on now at that point. I suppose from a betting point of view, the year Back in Front and Rooster Booster won. Back in Front won the Supreme, and Rooster Booster won the Champion Hurdle. That was my first year of kind of really getting involved in what the Cheltenham's all about, having a few bets and really feeling the atmosphere, the whole thing. So that would have been that year. I think that was, what was that, 2001, I want to say. I'm useless with years.
Rooster Booster, of course, won the County Hurdle, didn't he? And the following season went on and won the
bolted up. Richard Johnson, Philip Hobbs, he absolutely destroyed them, and beaten by Hardy Eustace then the next year, going for 2 in a row. So
is that the first? Is that the kind of the first horse that kind of springs to mind when you mention Cheltenham? Rooster Booster.
Memories wise, that would have been the first one I could think of, like having a recollection of Cheltenham. That would have been my first. I've other horses that I associate Cheltenham with more, but from my first ever kind of enjoyment of Cheltenham from that way, that was the year I was having a few bets, and I remember watching it. I remember getting off school on a Tuesday to watch it. I was happy enough to do that. So and my mum decided to, I was a lost cause at that stage already.
So your favourite all-time Cheltenham Festival winner was?
Oh, I have to go Denman in the Gold Cup. What a performance. I was hugely I was in the Denman camp that year with the Coto Star. I couldn't have him getting beaten by Coto Star around Cheltenham. Maybe in another track, Coto Star could have beaten, but not around Cheltenham. And biggest bet probably at an age that I shouldn't have been having that sort of bet. Geez, how could you not love it? Sam Thomas rolling down the hill and Ruby Watch getting to work on Coto Star. It was like all the things you'd predicted in your head were happening there in front of you, and it was a monster performance from the machine, or the tank even, as he was affectionately known. The commentary from Richard Hoyles is gone down in racing folklore. So yeah, without a doubt, the tank destroying them that day in the Gold Cup, that would have to be my number one memory, of course.
Let's kick on. Let's have a look towards this year's festival. Name the tricast for the Champion Hurdle, the Champion Chase, the Stayers Hurdle, and the Gold Cup, Mr. Groome.
Right. On the spot a bit here, because I wanted to do these on the spot instead of doing a bit of research. But I think obviously Constitution Hill, Stateman, I like to move it, would be my top three in the Champion Hurdle.
I agree.
Champion Chase, I'm going to go Edward Stone, Editor to Gite, Gentleman to Me. I think there's a chance that Energemin could bomb. Stayers, Home by the Lee, Classical Dream. See, I'm putting Home by the Lee ahead because he's just more solid. I'm not sure about Classical Dream where he's at. He could just get done, just the lack of work in between, but I think he could run a big race. And Blazing Cal will complete the trio for me there. On the Gold Cup, I'll go Gallop on the Champ, Hoy Senior, I think, can run a really big race. Might even back him on the day. And Noble Yates might just run on for third. So that's they're your horses to avoid.
None at all, Mr. Groome. It was, of course, people did price up the portfolio, and there was a couple of guys in there now who had us close enough together, 4-7. I think it was 7-4. Where's the margin for you, Mr. O'Brien? That's what I ask. Next question: your dark horse for top jockey at a double figure. Now, BOYLESPORTS have priced up these alternative markets, so I will just run down through them for you. But I suppose off the cuff, Mr. Groome, any names spring to mind?
Very much so. This is a really interesting market. Well, it's not that interesting, I guess, because Townend's going to win it, right? And you can't actually back each way. But at the prices, like I'd be looking down the Willie Mullins kind of team instead of looking elsewhere. So at the prices, I do think it might be worth. Now, BOYLESPORTS are, shrewd enough
11-1. 11-1. If it's the man I'm thinking.
11-1 with BOYLESPORTS. So they're not missing anything there. You can get 20-1 with a couple of other firms. I think that's a big price for Danny Mullins. Obviously rode more winners than Paul Town in the Dublin Racing Festival. So that just goes to show you Mullins going to have 3, 4 nearly in all the big races, at least 2. Danny will probably come in for a lot of good rides. The thing with Willie is he'll definitely win the trainer's title, but Paul Townend can only ride one in every race and mightn't be on the right one every time. So I'll give Danny, and I'd even give Patrick Mullins a big shout at 33s. He'll get nice rides in the amateur races, and he'll get a champion bump ride, and he'll get a few second strings and third strings as well. I think he could go well as well if you could back him each way. I think firms used to offer each way prices on this, but I haven't seen them yet. But that'd be interesting to me. Maybe coming up closer, maybe Monday you could check that out.
When you consider Nico de Boinville, Davy Russell, and Rachel Blackmore all above Danny Mullins, and as you mentioned, Patrick Mullins, I would. Lots of people were mentioning Harry Cobden. I'd have to agree with you. I think Danny Mullins, I mean, in the first 2 races, he could have 2 really good rides with Lilith Tomp and potentially Start Dynamo. So that's
5 winners could win it for you. So it's not 5 winners could win an average year.
Couldn't agree with you more. I think Danny will obviously riding out of his skin, and he's going to have plenty of decent chances right throughout the week. So I'm with you on that, very much so. Okay, from a I suppose from an editorial point of view, Mr. Groome, and I did throw this question in. I actually had the top 3 stories that you'd love to write about after Cheltenham, but let's just go with the one. Let's narrow it down. What's the one story? What's the one scenario you'd love to see? And I suppose story off the back of that you'd love to write about after Cheltenham 2023. And you're not allowed to say honeysuckle because I'm sick of this.
Yeah, I would have been kind of sick of it. I never really got real warm about the honeysuckle stuff. Liked her and all that, but I never really got the whole fanfare around her in recent years. But I have to say, this year of all years, you know, strictly from a narrative point of view, you would love to see her win for Henry and the family. Like, I think it would be a special moment at Cheltenham if she did. So that'd probably be. But everyone would say that.
What about the horse on the in the Jack de Bromhead novices hurdle on the?
See, that could happen either. I think, what does Henry have in that?
Magical Zoe.
Yes, sorry, yeah, of course. Yeah, she'd have a bit of a squeak, you know. Yeah, but honeysuckle probably more realistic. She gets it done. Like, if she runs to 160, they have her all to beat, you know, in the mares really. So it's very realistic that she could win, and that would be, I think, it would be a nice story. Everyone would say that, though. I guess, personally speaking,
you have the Barry Connell double potentially. You have the real whacker. You have Paul Nicholls potentially training his first Ballymore winner. That'll be down the list now.
Paul Nicholls trained a Ballymore winner before, has he not?
Never.
Has he never? Jesus.
Never.
Right, that's another one I can take on Hermes Allen with. But Barry Connell is. I was going to say him. He's. I've done a couple of pieces with him this year. I know you had him on as well. And like, what a game he's talking. And as down there, he's got an unbelievable place. Like, he is doing what. If me and you had the money he had, we'd probably be doing the same thing. He's just basically living a dream. He's decided, 1, he wants to ride the horses. 2, he wants to own them. Now 3, he's going to decide he's going to train them. And he has 2 like live wires for Cheltenham in the novice hurdlers. So I have to tip my cap to him. Fair play to him. And he's like, no problem saying it as it is. No problem putting his neck on the line. So if
he's loving it, isn't he? He's really enjoying it now. He's talking.
He is. Let's hope he can walk the walk. He's really into it. Like, you know, he's really getting a kick out of it. You know, so fair play to him.
So plenty of stories. If you were to narrow it down to one, what would it be?
That way, I guess I have to say honeysuckle, Barry Connell, and give a quick mention to Gordon as well. I think Gordon, with my Mead jersey on of Gordon and Gavin Cromwell, I'd like to see the both of them do well, and Tony Martin might have a couple of chances as well. I'd like to see those lads go well, especially Gordon. He had something mad like 9 seconds last year, 7 seconds. It just didn't click for him, but I think he could have a bet. Probably doesn't have as good a team as he did going to the festival last year, but I think he could click with a few of them, especially those novice chasers. So I'd like to see them do well.
Okay, Mr. Groome, if I was going to be very generous with the overround calculator, and you're speaking about County Meath here, I give you 2-1 each of the following: County Carlow, Meath with the handicap +4, or Great Britain. Which region will train the most Cheltenham winners? Now, I think this is an interesting question.
Well, I definitely go with Britain out of the three of them. Like, I mean, Willie is going to win the trainer's title, but 10 winners last year was unprecedented.
Depends how you price up the Pressbury Cup. I mean, just looking at some of the scorelines, I think you had mentioned 17-11 again this year for the Pressbury Cup. I think that was your predicted score. I went 16-12. I think I thought they might close the gap, but there's lots of people thinking that Ireland are going to have an even better season than last year. So, what way do you see it anyway? What would you go with?
Like, if Britain Britain have 11 winners, they're going to win this little battle here. I'd say there'd be long odds on. I mean, like, Willie's got to surpass last season's achievement, which was unprecedented. He 10 winners, like double figures, was just sensational. Like, he could get close to it again, but that's not going to be enough here. Gordon and Gavin Cromwell, I guess, for County Meath, and, you know, obviously I mentioned Tony Martin there as well, plus the 4. God, like, you'll need big. You need Gavin chipping in there with 2, Gordon to get 3 or 4 to even get you close. So, like most people I've talked to, and we did ask this, we have a supplement on Saturday in the paper, and we've asked 6 different people what their score in a jury. We've asked 6 different people what their score would be in the Prestbury Cup, and most people would say 17-11, 18-10, 16-12, like you said, is like something like that. So in that case, Britain, you'd take Britain out of those 3, I'd say.
Looking at the, I'm just thinking you forgot to mention Emmett for County Carlos. I mean, obviously he's 3 sharp price favourites in races. Filey Bay, obviously, so Scottish, and he has the horse in the Hunter's Chase as well, not favoured.
That's fair, yeah. A Shark, I guess, has.
And Shark has Hewick. So I'm just thinking, will he train 10 in it last year? Depends what way you see the Prestbury Cup. Probably. Oh look, I'm going to have to be loyal to County Carlo here. I'm going to go back.
You're just wrong. You need Emmett Mullins to chip in 2 there at least, and he does have a nice team. Corbett's Cross.
Corbett's Cross as well. Like so.
Yeah, but Corbett's Cross best chance. Nobody hits 8-1 shot, and then the rest of them are in handicaps. How could you back County Carlo, those 3?
The red, yellow, and green jersey on me here, Mr. Groome. Let's skip on to the next question. You've gone with Britain anyway for the most out of that. Name 1 favourite you'd lay for a place at the Cheltenham Festival.
God.
You kind of said it already on the show, did you?
Yeah, but that race would cut up, I think. You could lay him top 2, maybe Hermes Allen. How many runners are going to be on
She's mentioning Ergamine not to place in the top 3.
Yeah. Like the thing is, laying for a place in these grade 1s, the field sizes aren't on your side.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point.
Like I am against loads of favourites that people are sweet on, like Mighty Potter, Lossie Mouth, even though she's probably just shading towards second favourite now. Hermes Allen, I think he could get well beaten in the Ballymore. I don't think he has the turn of foot that the Mullins trio have, and he could just get found out there. So I don't know about laying for a place, but I think a couple of them ones I mentioned could run. I'm not surprised if they run disappointingly. So that's where I'd be going.
Okay, favourite to lay for a place for me. Definitely it's for me in the bumper. I think there's enough quality in there. Willie's probably about 20 in there. A Dream to Share, I think, has taken over the top of the market, certainly on the exchanges. I think he's the rightful favourite. And obviously Gordon has a couple of nice starts in there as well. And I think there's a couple of nice British horses in the race as well. Queen's Gamble and Dunnada's Wilmouth run Captain Teague for Paul Nichols. So that's a competitive bumper. And I just think off the back of 1 run, to see him up there, 7-2, I'd lay him for a place. Okay, top 3 learnings from the Cheltenham previous circuit. Obviously, there's been lots happening, Ronan Groome. Anything kind of stick out?
The main one, actually, and a few of my colleagues were talking about this morning, is this French thing in the Boodles that's coming over. It's like the Gaelic Warrior of this year. Bad, yes. The Michael Jackson angle here. Tony Mullins mentioned this, I think, on the Paddy Power. I don't know if anyone else did. And I went to check it up myself, and he's right. Like the horse is £12 better off on his French mark compared to what he's racing off in Britain. I don't know how that works, and I have to do a bit of research into why that is the case and why that was the case with Gaelic Warrior last year. But like, if that's the case, that's very interesting, isn't it? Like, I wouldn't, and the Boodles isn't a race I would genuinely get involved in. I just think it's a bit of a mess. There are certain horses that you could say are well handicapped, but I just think they're improving at ridiculous rates. The level for improvement on all of them is higher than your usual handicap, and that leads to upsets and hard to call. But if that horse is £12 in hand, if you can take that literally, he's definitely of interest.
I just think actually interesting. Obviously, he mentioned about the horse working well at home. He also mentioned 2 horses in there. We've kind of given one a mention on the handicap show, Punted at least. That'd be maybe the one I'd be a little bit more interested in. I watched back his run in Cansamere before the third of the year. Obviously, he had 1 start, finished third behind Beau Zenit. I think the 2 of them, based on as you say, the French ratings. what's the old cliche, if it was trained by Willie Mullins, but genuinely, if either of them were trained by Willie Mullins, they wouldn't be double figure. That's for sure. There wouldn't be anything near the price. When you look at what Gaelic Warrior, the price he went off last season. Yeah, that's interesting. Obviously, Imperial has come for a lot of support over the last couple of days. I think earlier on in the previews, there was a lot of talk that, Blood Destiny would flip-flop with Lossiemount. We've kind of said that a lot on the show. They're joint favourites now at BOYLESPORTS, 7-4 each of two. I still say Paul would choose Lossiemount. Anything else kind of maybe on the circuit that you want to mention that kind of stuck out?
I try to like not watch as many as I did years before. Like there are a lot, and I tried, like I would personally wouldn't have much interest in what trainer or jockey has to say. Barrett's like Gordon Elliott, or obviously like Willie does his stable tours, and you're listening to all that. But on a preview panel, like just a jockey or trainer getting on, I just don't think a lot of them don't really understand betting properly as such. Like they don't get like prices and stuff, and they just say what they think. Which is fine, it's fair enough, and like they're great for a bit of crack, and sometimes you do get something out of them, like what Tony Mullins said. But I mean, more interested in what the likes of like a pundit or a hard-nosed kind of professional punter has to say. And I've tried to I've actually made a conscious decision this year not to watch as many, try and form my own opinion on the races rather than listening to other people in that regard as well. So yeah, that was just the one piece I kind of got. The rest of them was just general stuff that I kind of already like the Facile Vega. People just, it's mad to the variance of opinion there, and just goes to show you it's so hard to call what Facile Vega is going to do. But in no way would I be going near him still at that sort of price. So I kind of think that clouds your judgment of a race if all you're talking about is Facile Vega. You're not really analysing the race properly at all. So yeah, I'm not much used to you on that question, Basil, but I've tried to keep.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. Right, champion bumper. It seems you absolutely detest bumpers. I said I'd throw this one into the mix. If you could buy one champion bumper contender, so out of all the horses that are entered in the champion bumper to this point, if you could buy one before the race, which horse would you choose? Which horse, in terms of a future, would you go with?
If I could buy one, possibly a Dream to Share. Like he's out of a Galileo mare. People talk about these bumper horses going back on the flat, which is usually absolute, makes no sense at all. Like people were talking about Facile Vega going back on the flat and winning something like a Ascot Gold Cup last year, which is just complete. That's an absolutely ludicrous suggestion. But he could go back on the flat and win a couple of races. A Dream to Share. Like he's a good flat pedigree. He's obviously a top class prospect. JP's bought him, so if JP's buying him, I think who am I to say that I wouldn't buy him if I had the money? He's obviously a top class prospect for going over hurdles next year. And if I bought him, I'd probably say I'd leave him at home, don't even run him in the bumper.
Which they're doing with Ballyburn, who doesn't go, and I'd say that horse is an absolute weapon. Ballyburn, so can't wait to see. I do like Westport Cove, maybe the big price in the bumper. If he keeps his head, he might have a chance. Another ride maybe that Daddy could potentially pick up. They were kind of the two I had shortlisted for the race. So either of those, I think going forward, there are two very good horses going hurdle next year. I think that's Ballyburn and Westport Cove, who probably will go for the race. Before next week, Ronan Groome, before it all kicks off, the 2024 Ante-Post markets will probably start becoming live, and there'll be lots of chat about, horses for next year. Before next week, nominate 3 horses for 3 races. I'm not saying as bets, but like that you would be looking at for next year for 3 races. I'll kick one off. I'll help you out a little bit here just to so that you can keep thinking here. But it's Imperial for the Arkle next season. That's one I'd be interested in, but off you go.
Yeah, I'd be interested in him as well. I think he'd be a good horse next year when he fills out a bit. I do have 3 for this that I was thinking of. I'll probably go Hermes Allen for the Brown Advisory. So I'm against him for the Ballymore, where I think he could get outdone for a bit of pace, but I think he'll be a different type of horse next year. 3 miles over fences. I think that's where we'll see the best of him. I think he's the top prospect coming out of that race. And I think I saw something like 20-1 available for him now. And then these markets get priced up a lot more next week, directly after the race and stuff. And there often are a couple of good opportunities there. So keep an eye on him, Hermes Allen. John Bon, I'd probably be half interested in him for a champion chase. For a champion chase, like Arkle winners, we always say it, have a great record the next season. He could be a bit of class. I still think, like El Fabiolo, I still think he possibly will be a horse that is seen to best effect over further in time. I think there might be a pace angle to him that gets him beaten in the Arkle. So John Bon out of those two, possibly. And my other one, I'm trying to think of now. What was the other one? Basil had them written down and I left them inside.
Well, I'll help you here. Let me give you my three. Good land for the Brown Advisory. Impere Pa has absolutely bolted up in the Arkle next season, and the other one would be Mighty Potter for the Gold Cup. They'd be my three that I would be very much.
Yeah. Sorry, I was Jerry Cologne. I was Jerry Cologne for the Gold Cup. I think he is. I take him out of. I have to say, I take him out of Mighty Potter and Jerry Cologne. I take Jerry Cologne. I think he's more of a Gold Cup brute of a type of horse that would stay the trip, whereas Mighty Potter's a bit of class about him. I think he.
Okay, Mr. Groome, that has wrapped up your Q&A. You are going to put 10 questions together for me because I love answering the questions. I hate asking them.
Download the BoyleSports app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. BoyleSports, this is betting.
Right, as promised, Mr. Groome, we're going to go banker treble each. And we're going to put in our each way lucky 15 for the entire festival. Ronan Groome, as always, the honour is with you. Your banker treble is?
Bank on John Bon, Jerry Cologne, and throw Constitution Hill in there because it's a banker. I can't see him getting beaten. So that'd be 3 for the banker. Will I go crack on with the lucky 15, or are you coming in with the banker?
I'll come in with my banker treble for the meeting. And I'm going to go Mighty Potter, Allegory the Vassi, and Lucia would be my 3 for the festival. But in particular, I like the double. I would be going Mighty Potter and Allegory the Vassi. I don't see how that gets beaten, and that pays just a little bit over 4-1. So that's I'd narrow it down to the double, Mr. Groome. I don't think that those two will be beaten at Cheltenham. So that's I'm going to nail my colours to the mast there. And each way, lucky 15 for yourself.
So I'm going with a couple I've put up already. Elixir at the Nuts, Grand Annual. Campron for the Coral Cup, even though the value is fucking squeezed out of it completely now. Ahoy Senior 14s for the Gold Cup. And Firm Footings for the Martin Pipe is a 16-1 shot with Boyles. And altogether, for my €1 lucky 15, that pays 41,471 to 1.
Not asking for much, are you? It is an each way lucky 15. The first one I'm going to put in is the solid one in there. And I just think I cannot see it's 5-1, 50 odds. I cannot see how this one is out of the money, Mr. Groome. And that's Goodland. I think at his price, I think he's a very, very good price for what he is. Goodland 5-1. So that's the solid one. Getting him in there nice and early. The second one I'm going to put into the mix is, I put it in last week, as Oscar Elite on day 1. I think it's a right chance. Put him in last week. He's a right chance in the Ultima. £4 out in a handicap last season. A pound higher this season, 139 rated. I think he's set up for a massive run. 10-1, that's a big price. Tyne White, we put him up at 25. He's now 16s for the Grand Annual. Nichols' only runner. He's run it twice in the last decade. Good ground, left-handed. bit of decent ground, left-handed, fresh, right chance, 16-1. Think he's proper value. And I've also put in Pat Doro at 18-1. He's now currently 10-1 for the county hurdle. I'd say he's laid out for it. And I think he's all the attributes you need for the county hurdle. Obviously, he's going to be very competitive. But, if you're getting, 4 or 5 places in each of those handicaps, you're going to be getting 4 places with BOYLESPORTS minimum on the day. And Goodland, I think, is a model to place to boost it up. So for a €1 each way lucky 15, Mr. Groome, that would return you 18,466. So there you go. That's the banker, trebles, doubles, and the long shot lucky 15s each way lucky 15s. So Ronan Groome, without further ado, it's time. You're putting 2 selections into the mix. I'm putting 1. It's week 18. It is the selections, and that's next.
BOYLESPORTS has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. BOYLESPORTS, this is betting.
Oh, go on then. Off you go.
Yeah, so we're just about to come onto the show over the weekend, and we come to an agreement, Basil, that we're both going to put up Oscar Elite. And I had one last look at the race just to get myself ready for the show, and I just couldn't help looking at Correct Rambler, a famous horse, I suppose, for this show. Was hugely instrumental in your win last night, even though your antics after the race were nothing short of deplorable. But Correct Rambler, right? I see. This Ultima, I think, is a race made for horses that come back again and again, and are proven over the course and distance. And I think he was good value. Like, he got a great ride from Derek Fox in the race last year, came through, but I think he's good value now for 2 3/4 lengths. He's going right away at the line. Like this season, basically started off at Carlisle, 5th there, probably his first run of the season, just like shake off the cobwebs. A warm up for the Hennessy, and he ran real eye catching race in the Hennessy. He was 4th there to the Milos, stayed on, like it seemed to look like he was outpaced, and then stayed on. Finished 4th, and basically he's just said, right, 146, let's just keep him. Let's hold on to him for the season. We can run him again at Cheltenham and then have him for the Grand National. I don't subscribe to him running in the Ultima as like a warm up for the Grand National. I think he'd be ready to roll here. He's only £6 higher than last year. Got the course and distance form. I think this is a classy horse. He's only run 8 times over fences. Lots still unexposed. More to come from him. Like, I'm very surprised now if he's not a better horse than he was last year going into this race. So we've got £7 to contend with, and we can do it around the course. And this just thought he was a rock solid shot. So I've gone for him over Oscar Elite, who I think can definitely run well again. Will definitely be in the shake-up, but I would want Correct Rambler on side instead. So Lucinda Russell and Correct Rambler is my selection there for the Ultimate handicap chase.
Yeah, and hands out to 8-1 from 7-1 with BOYLESPORTS. Obviously, has come for plenty of support. Is favoured for the race now, Mr. Groome. And I have to say, you've gone with my old foe to come back to haunt me. And you weren't impressed with the antics. But I said to you yesterday, feel free. We won't be watching the race together on this season, but you can give us an old voice message and return the favour. Should Correct Rambler get up to do me? I think last year's runners are massive players. I'd be surprised if they were 1 and 2 here, in whichever order. Let's hope it's Oscar Elite. I think he's on better terms this season. And I do actually agree with you. This thing of Correct Rambler, it's going to be his prep. I reckon he's going to be wound up for this. There's no doubt about that. I just think Oscar Elite might be a little bit better off. And I think, like Correct Rambler, I think Oscar Elite is a better horse this season. So let's hope I come out on top, Mr. Groome. But Correct Rambler, an old friend, hope he doesn't come back to haunt me. I think 8-1 in fairness is more than fair in a race, as you said, that horses come back time and time again, season after season, to run well in the race. So, wish you well with that, absolutely. And I was going to say put in your second selection, so you might as well run a Groome when you're on a roll. Your second selection for
this is the aforementioned Swing I've taken, and it's a horse called Coulter, who Probably a good chunk of our Irish viewers will have heard of already. He's been trained by Dermot Wells, who won an amateur handicap at Galway a couple of seasons ago over the 2-1 there. So he's a real strong stayer on the flat. Over hurdles, he's been so, but he was bought by Nick Bradley Racing in the off season, and just very interestingly campaigned so far. He ran on the flat at Kempton, ran okay, was third, and then went for a per temps qualifier up in Musselburgh last month, and was 40-1 shot there. Huge drifter on the day, nothing much expected, it seems. Probably the expectations were just to get him qualified. He's run a really big race now. He stayed on strongly there to a horse called Brandy McQueen. The fourth in that race is a horse called Wakul, came out and won a grade 2 there recently, so I think the form is okay. He got £4, so he's up to 139. And I just think Cheltenham will suit him better. He ran quite well in the Boodles. He was 6th in the year. Jeff Kidder won the Boodles. So he's got the know-how around Cheltenham. He's very unexposed still, 139. Nick Bradley, I can say this from knowing the man myself. I have a horse with him last year, filly on the flat, and I did a piece with him for the Irish Field. Like, there's probably no shrewder man in racing. So if he's plumping up the money to buy this coulter with a view to running him in the per temps qualifier, which seems to be the plan all along, I definitely think he's worth a go. He's 20-1 with BOYLESPORTS. I think that's a good price. He definitely goes to this race, it seems, doesn't he? He's in the Carl Cup, but why would you have run in the per temps if not to get qualified, if not to run in this race? So I think he's a bit of value there, coulter, and I could see him running big.
Download the BoyleSports app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. BoyleSports, this is betting.
Right, Mr. Groome, my episode number 18 selection. I've gone to the Supreme Novices Hurdle. I'm looking to put the pressure on early, and I've gone with Elite Tomp in the Supreme Novices Hurdle. That's 7-1, an enhancement from 6-1. God, that's more than fair, Mr. Groome. I'm quite happy to play this. I don't like those at the top of the market. Facile Vega, could not back him at his price after the last day. Marine National, worry about experience, and if it did turn up on the softer side of good as well, be a slight negative, I think, for him. He's only had 2 runs over hurdles. That's it, Marine National. So I would be maybe a little bit concerned of getting involved in a horse that short with just 2 runs. Elite Tom, 6 runs over hurdles. He's a much better horse this season, and I do think that the hood has made a little bit of a difference to him now. He's settling better. He is jumping better, although there is still room for improvement with his jumping. The pace angle, I think, is key in the Supreme Novices Hurdle. High definition, Facile Vega, Diverge. Like, they all like to go forward. I think this race will be run to suit him. If his jumping holds up and Danny can settle this horse, he's a massive engine. Look back to his run last season in the Triumph Hurdle on the new course. For him to, I didn't see a horse all festival to pull as hard as he did and finish in the picture. He was literally, he was giving Danny an awful time of it. He's a much, more grown up this season. I thought it was a massive run to do what he done last season. And yeah, I think 7-1 is more than fair. So I'm looking to put the pressure on early in the day on the Tuesday. And just, I know you did mention, he did put up, I know the race was maybe run to put up a big time at Leopardstown in the Dublin Racing Festival, but I suppose the numbers don't lie, Ronan Groome. It was a very good time from Elite Tomp.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Now it was strong. Like, obviously, that was a uniquely run race, and maybe that won't be the case in Supreme, but as for pure performance, it was pretty good. I'd be like probably not going to play the Supreme, to be honest with you, but if I was going to head, if I was to go for one, I probably would go for Elite Tomp. So
yeah, 7-1, which could kick off what could be a good day for Danny Mullins on day 1 of the Cheltenham Festival. At least that's what we're hoping on the road to Cheltenham Challenge. Right, Ronan Groome, we'll be back on Sunday. Get your questions ready for me. Get your questions down below for our special Q&A, which is, of course, this Sunday. And we've 2 more episodes left. We both have to put in our team captains. Update your portfolio. Like the video, as always, and let us know your views. Maybe answer some of the questions that I asked Mr. Groome. Plenty of them there, so lots of discussion. And Mr. Groome, just 6 days to go to the Cheltenham Festival. And well, it's getting very exciting. See you Sunday.
Inside the final 150 yards, this is a special year, and it's a hands full of grace. And It's Energumen opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumen by.
Download the BOYLESPORTS app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. BOYLESPORTS, this is betting.